Hello, welcome to D1 All-Stars. I am Joe Maldonado. I am Alder for the District 1 of the city of Fitchburg, and I want to welcome you to our inaugural episode. Let me tell you a little bit about D1 All-Stars before we get kicked off, because this is our first episode. I'm very excited about it. The purpose of D1 All-Stars is to highlight the awesome, talented, resilient, giving, caring residents of District 1 here in the city of Fitchburg. District 1 includes our Jamestown neighborhood, as well as our Allied Duns Marsh neighborhood, and our Pine Ridge neighborhood as well. The borders are Seminole Highway, all the way to the city of Madison borders, and anywhere north of McKee Road. So I'm very happy and proud to represent these neighborhoods in this district. I've lived here for about 12 years in the city of Fitchburg as a whole, and another 10 here in the Allied Duns Marsh neighborhood. I love my neighborhood, I love my district, and I love being a resident of Fitchburg. We're diverse. We've got a lot of talent, and we've got great people who really care about their neighbors and care about the community. So over the next year or so, you're going to see each month an episode come out with awesome people who do awesome things and may not get the shine or the spotlight that they deserve. But really the purpose of this show is to show you the talent and the hidden gems that we've got here in our community, so that maybe they can help you out one day and help people that you love. So without further ado, I'd like to start our first episode. And I'm going to bring our D1 All-Star starter to the front lines here. This is somebody who I would categorize as somebody that's a part of our essential workers here in the city of Fitchburg. She is a 17-year resident of the city of Fitchburg. Hope I'm not getting the years wrong. And she's spent 5 years here in the Jamestown neighborhood, which is west of Verona Road. She is a mother, a wife, and she is a member of the Fitchburg Fire Department. And I'm not going to butcher your title. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and say it. But she's somebody who really is behind a lot of the outreach that you see here in the city of Fitchburg. Whether it's keeping your fire hydrants clear, making sure you're not having hazards in your home. And then in addition to all that, she is also the president of the Rotary Club of Fitchburg, Verona. So she'll tell you a little bit about the Rotary, what the Rotary does, but they're givers to this community and also to our neighbors across the border in Verona. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Ms. Meredith Shelton.
Joe, it's nice to join you today.
Yes.
So my title with the fire department is Administrative Services Manager. It is a mouthful, but it kind of encompasses all the things that I do with the fire department. A lot of times when people find out I work for a fire department, first question is, oh my gosh, you're a firefighter? That's awesome. Said, okay, to be clear, I am not a firefighter. I cannot, and I'm not interested in doing what they do. My role is to make sure that they have what they need so that they can do their job safely and effectively. Whether that's helping procure equipment, make sure apparatus is in, working order, training is registered and paid for, scheduled, and bills are paid so that we can order more stuff. So I just kind of make sure that everything is in order. So.
Awesome. We'll get more into all the details of that when we move ahead, but you're also married to a firefighter, correct?
I am married to Lieutenant Shelton. He's lieutenant, paid on call lieutenant with the city of Fitchburg, and has been with the fire department since 2004. So.
Awesome. So a couple stories about fire that I can relate to. When I first moved to Fitchburg, my wife and I, we lived on Guilford Road, up a little bit north of McKee, and our apartment complex actually burned down. Our son was, I think, 6 or 7 at the time. My wife woke me up in the middle of the night. Luckily, we had a little sliding door we could hop through, and the fire department was there right on time. But as an alder, we get alerted when there's fires in our district. And I actually met your husband after I walked over to the site of a fire near Seminole, and that's where the connection sort of got made. So thank you all for what you do. It's really a critical service. Obviously, like everybody wants to be a firefighter when they grow up. So we appreciate you all.
Yeah, thank you.
So Meredith, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us your story. What led you to the point where you're at right now? You can tell us whatever you want.
Oh, wow. So I most of my working history, well, now that I've been with the city of Fitchburg for a little over 14 years, I guess probably about half of my working life was actually in the printing industry. My mom owned a small commercial print shop up in Sauk City, and I worked there starting when I was about 10 years old, after school, during breaks from school, that kind of thing. So I definitely learned a good work ethic from her. When your mom is your boss, you can either get away with a lot or you can't get away with anything. And I was definitely the latter. So, and then in 2006, I was pregnant with my daughter and was looking for a change in job, and actually applied for a part-time position through QTI with the fire department. Figured it'd be something relatively easy to do, and was close to my house. And, never in my life, if you had said that I'd be working in public safety, I definitely was not that person. But I love it, and just the atmosphere, the people. So I've been with the city of Fitchburg in some capacity since 2006, and yeah, I love it. It's like working with a family. So it's fantastic.
Beautiful. I know you live over in the Jamestown neighborhood. Tell us a little bit about, how you got here and what life's like for you now.
Yeah, sure. So I actually have been in Fitchburg, I think so at 17 years, sounds about right. I grew up in Prairie du Sac, Sauk City, moved out to Long Island for a year actually, and was a live-in nanny. And
cool.
Then moved into Madison, moved back, was living in Madison, a couple different places with friends in that for a couple of years. And a friend of mine had a room available in her house on Irish Lane. And I moved in with her. And as they say, rest was history. I never got back out of Fitchburg. From there, I actually lived over on Carling Drive for a couple years in an apartment there. And then my husband at the time and we bought a house on South Fish Hatchery Road, just south of the radio station there. And it was a great house. It was a great starter house. It was a nice area, close to services. And once it opened, it was close to a library, which was great, having a young child.
Yeah.
And then we decided to move. We were looking just to upgrade to a bit larger house. The child was getting bigger, so needed more space. And my mom was living with us at the time, actually. So with 3 adults and a growing teenager, we needed more space.
Sure.
We kind of looked around and found a house in Jamestown, and we absolutely love it. We've actually been here a little over 3 years. And my favorite thing about it is it really is a neighborhood. There are kids all over the place. We are really close. We can see the basketball hoops when there aren't leaves on the trees. We can see the basketball hoop from Pocket Park from our front porch, and so we can hear kids over there, year round, at all times of the day and night, and it's fantastic. We're close to a lot of services. We can walk to a lot of stuff. We can obviously easily get to areas driving. Plus, we are surrounded by awesome neighbors. In our previous home, we liked a lot about our location, and we had good neighbors, but it wasn't a neighborhood.
Sure.
So here we have a neighborhood. We can go across the street and borrow tools. We can help out a friend hold up their fence gate while they're putting the bolts back in. In the circle behind us, when people can meet, they have, get-togethers, just, have a couple drinks around the fire pit on a Friday night kind of thing, and block parties. And so it's fantastic.
Awesome. Cool. We'll talk a little bit about that when we come back from break. But,
right.
Thank you again. You're listening to D1 All-Stars, our inaugural episode. Here we have Meredith Shelton joining us, and we'll be back after the break. All right. Hey, folks, we are back with D1 All-Stars. Again, this is our inaugural episode. And here joining us, we have Meredith Shelton, longtime resident of Fitchburg, lives in the Jamestown neighborhood, works for the Fitchburg Fire Department, and is also president of the Fitchburg Verona Rotary. Welcome back, Meredith. So we're talking about neighborhoods. Let's talk a little bit more about your neighborhood. So you told us all the things you loved about living here in Jamestown that has a real neighborhood feel. In Fitchburg as a whole, and maybe in your neighborhood in particular, what do we need more of? What are the things that'll make our community a better place?
Places to meet and have activities that the residents can get to. The things like an activity center, whether that's specifically a teen center or a center for more of like a community center. We just need spaces where people can meet for activities, preferably something that has some kind of sporting aspect to it, whether it's basketball courts or I know different paddle sports are really popular right now. But even, space where you can have, if it could have like a little cafe nearby or as part of it, maybe a game room. But I think the most critical piece is that it is located somewhere where people can access. Whether that means that it's within a community, located within Jamestown, for example, or located up in the Fish Hatchery Corridor area along Post Road in that neighborhood, but also along bus routes. Definitely one of the things that I think Fitchburg is lacking is that places where people can really meet and get to.
Tell me a little bit more about your role on Rotary. I knew a little bit about Rotary.
Yeah.
I spoke in front of downtown Rotary once. I was very on the spot, but I know there's a Fitchburg and Verona Rotary. What do you all do?
Yeah, so the Fitchburg Verona Rotary Club, we have, unfortunately, because of COVID the last year, like a lot of Rotary clubs, we've been doing a lot of just virtual meeting and kind of talking about what we can do in the future. But in general, the Fitchburg Verona Rotary Club, we help out a couple high school seniors every year with financial scholarships. At the end of the school year, they're able to use those either, toward school or toward books. Sometimes they use them for application fees or, gas money to go check out different schools. We also have a couple free little libraries that we've put up in conjunction with the Oregon Correctional. They have a group of people that do projects like that build them for us. And so we have one at McKee Farms Park, and then also one at Veterans Park in Verona. We also help out with hometown days, selling the beer tickets in the beer tent and helping out with that. We have worked with organizations in Kenya to help purchase and install water cisterns so that communities can rely less on sending their particularly young girls, but females in general, off, walking miles every day to access water. They can be collecting that water and using it. Thereby, the girls can go to school, and everybody can just, be healthier by having that access to clean water. We've also worked with an organization that is helping in Kenya, again, to replant and reforest some areas that have been, complete deforestation just because of people needing to cut down the trees to make charcoal so that they can heat water and they can cook their food. So restoring some of that plant life with native species that will work with the ecosystem, a variety of species, slow growth and longer growth species. So we do have a couple fundraisers. Normally, we have a bowling tournament in March. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have that last year or this year. And then normally in the fall in November, we have a wine tasting. So at this point, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we'll be able to host that in November of 2021. But as we kind of meet and discuss that a little bit more and watch for different guidelines on groups of people meeting, hopefully we'll get information out about that soon.
Awesome. Well, I'll join if it's just once I'm vaccinated. I'll have some wine with you all. So, I mean, that's really cool. It sounds like there's a mix of sort of really big, broad international sort of projects, but there's also things that, help kids here in our community. So you're a parent, and our neighborhood sits in the Verona School District. Have your kids going back to school? How are you feeling about sort of the Verona School District's return to in-person learning?
Yeah, so I have one daughter, 14. She's a freshman this year. She chose to stick with completely virtual. I know the high school did open it up where you could go, I think, 2 days a week. She wanted to stick with totally virtual. She is definitely very, very cognizant of the need for social distancing and masks and everything else. And we have a visitor. And so she definitely, let me remove him. And so she definitely had no interest in being in person. She just doesn't see the benefit of it, as opposed to the risks of continuing to spread COVID. So, we're lucky because we have access to the technology. We have Wi-Fi at home, and we have the ability to support her. And I'm excited to hopefully in the fall, it'll be back to regular classroom, because I think it'll be a lot more beneficial to everybody, students, teachers, the whole experience. But for right now, it seems like they're doing the best they can and offering that in-person option to students that it really benefits more. So, yeah.
And I have a 14-year-old son or a 15-year-old son now. He just turned 15. And he's in person 2 days a week, but I think something like 1/3 of students chose to stay at home.
Sure.
He was telling me that every classroom he's in, there's about 6 people that are about 6 feet apart. So it's kind of weird, but hoping we can get vaccinated. Hopefully we can get back to somewhat normal life, but still sort of learn from the things that happened, this past year and a half. It's been crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to take another break, but please join us afterwards here with Meredith Shelton on D1 All-Stars. All right, we're back with D1 All-Stars. Again, our inaugural episode. We're here with Meredith Shelton, longtime resident of Fitchburg, shorter time resident of the Jamestown neighborhood, and staff of the Fitchburg Fire Department. So, Meredith, you gave us your title. It's a little bit cryptic, so we're going to break it down a little bit so that everybody knows what it is that you do. Tell us about your role with Fitchburg FD.
Administrative Services Manager. And I do a little bit of everything. I don't go into burning buildings, and I don't cut people out of cars. But I
do you ever save cats out of trees?
I don't. And
just from your bedroom table, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, just from the office table here. And we do get calls. We do get calls for my cat is in the tree and it won't come out. The first answer is always put out a can of tuna. The cat got up there, the cat will come down. The less friendly answer that we don't typically give over the phone, but the less friendly and slightly less obvious answer is that, have you ever seen a cat remains, I guess, in a tree? So they will come down. But I kind of do a little of everything. I make sure that the schedule is filled with people who are going to be filling all the roles that are needed. We have two apparatus, I should say, staffed 24/7, and each apparatus has 4 people. So plus an officer in charge. So I have to make sure that we have 9 appropriately trained people scheduled 24/7 every day of the year. Some days it's more challenging than others, but other than that, it's making sure that they have what they need, that, working with the officers and career staff, make sure that the inspectors have the information they need, make sure that the software is operating correctly, and then also make sure that, messaging is getting out to the public, not necessarily about, operations or what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Maybe there's some of that, but also just getting out safety messaging in a proactive manner so that hopefully we can minimize the kinds of calls or the severity of calls that we're going on.
So a lot of logistics, but I mean, so essential to like making sure that we're safe and our lives are safe. For me personally, as somebody that like got out of a fire here in Fitchburg, it's critical. It's really, really important. And, again, appreciate you all for what you do. So I know I've talked to Chief Paul Vermacher a lot, sort of about the efforts that he's involved in, both to, recruit young people to be interested in, firefighting, and doing outreach to organizations in the community. Are you involved in any of that? And, what does that all look like? Because I think that's an important thing for, folks to know about.
Yeah, I agree. It really is important. The majority of what I do is kind of getting the message out via social media. The chief is definitely setting up a lot of those connections. He also works with one of our firefighters, Jesus Villagomez. Between the two of them, they've made a lot of connections through Boys and Girls Club. Early in 2020, we were able to set up some basketball games, just kind of pickup games with some of our staff, Fitchburg police officers and Verona EMS personnel over at Boys and Girls Club. And just an opportunity to kind of, in a relaxed setting, let the neighborhood kids just hang out with us and vice versa. Obviously in any community, but definitely in some of the more underrepresented communities, it's important that people understand that the public safety personnel should be there to help you. And I really feel strongly that that is the case in Fitchburg. All of the public safety personnel that I've worked with, they just want the best for the residents. So making that connection, establishing that rapport is huge. And, that does develop into when, especially if the kids are able to get to know people in these roles and kind of learn about the fact that that is a role, that is a job, and that is a career that they can have. And then also when they see some other of our members who maybe look more like them, whether some of our female members, our African-American members, Latin members. It's a chance for them to see that, I can do that. There are people who look like me, who sound like me, who have a background like me, that are doing this, and that it looks like a cool thing to do. So it is a recruitment tool, but it's also a community outreach, just getting into the community kind of tool as well. So it's huge.
Awesome. So we got one more minute.
Yeah.
I know that we had a fire recently, and one of those, that the fire could have been fought a lot quicker had the fire hydrant nearby been cleared of the snow. And I know there was a campaign with the fire department to do that. We don't have as much snow now, and I don't think we will, until winter. But what are a couple of things or tips that folks just need to keep in mind as we go into the spring to just make sure that their dwellings are safe and everything's, good and preventable?
Yeah. Going into the spring, a lot of it is with all of the snow melting. Definitely be aware of any standing water. Things like rivers or creeks getting higher and overflowing. Just really be aware of standing water. Keep an eye on it around your house as well, because you don't want that getting in. Things like sandbags and that can help. So, yeah. And another thing is carbon monoxide detectors. You want to make sure that you have a carbon monoxide detector in every floor of your house, but especially in that basement with some of those gas powered appliances that you're running.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us. It's good to have one of our own here in town, fighting a good fight. And again, this is Joe Maldonado, D1 All-Stars, our inaugural episode with Meredith Shelton. Meredith, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Joe. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Take care, all.